All right, so you want to go from Excel to PowerPoint. This is pretty easy. Um, First thing I would do is I would create the presentation slash template in PowerPoint so that you know what it looks like. So I'd create like a PowerPoint slide, and we'll just do a blank one for now, and you can gussy it up later. Yeah. And let's say, right, like this text box, we'll call something like name, and I should be able to define it by an object, but at the very least, since we're putting the word name in there, we should be able to search for text and then just replace it. And then let's say down here, right? So you got name and then date earned. So we'll just put something like date. And then I'm going to say date earned and a single slide PowerPoint. So that's 3 columns. The full name of the person. I assume that's 1 column. Oh, years of service. Duh, missed it. Okay, so we'll call this years of service, and then this we'll call date. And we'll save this as a template. So instead of PPTX, we'll save it as a PowerPoint template, POTX. And we probably won't need a macro enabled template because we're going to drive the macro from the Excel side. So we'll just save it as a POTX. And we'll just call this cert. And I'm just going to save that out in my OneDrive, and I'll save it. Then we'll go into Excel and we'll create a new workbook. And right, we'll do the same thing over here that you said in the Reddit and date. So we'll have like Joe, 20 years, and then we'll put today's date for this. Put Anne, 10 years, and we'll say that's on 3/1/2026. And it doesn't matter how long this goes. And we will go into VBA, and we'll just say like mod export to PowerPoint. And then we could do an early binding or a late binding to PowerPoint. It's easier to, regardless of which you're going to choose, ultimately, it's better just to start with an early bind so you get the IntelliSense. So we want to find Microsoft PowerPoint. And, we could always switch this to a late bound later with the create object command. So we'll do that. And we'll just call it export. And we'll say dim PPT as new PowerPoint. Well, we'll instantiate it on a line per line basis. And then we'll set a range. Set that range equal to sheet 1 range. We'll start at A2. And then we'll just cycle until we have blanks. We'll assume it's contiguous. And then we'll say, okay, let's open up that PowerPoint. So we'll say set PowerPoint equal to New PowerPoint application. And then we'll just run this real quick. I always forget if I visible, set it to true. Oh, we got different enumerations from true, but I think true works. So we'll just say true. And I'm just going to run it just to ensure that we get those instances. And we don't. What am I forgetting with this instance? I don't think it's setting it to this instance here. Make sure I've got the right reference here. I guess it's 16.0. Yep, 16. That's the correct instance. All right. And we saved this, so we have it, so we can close this. And I can just check to see if those PowerPoint instances launched in the background and are still open. No, I don't see them. Sure what I did wrong here. Maybe we need that see true. Say. Yeah. Okay, so I just got to change the visible. It does have to be see true. I guess that one is no good. All right. So we should get 2 instances of PowerPoint launched. Inside any do loop, I always like to set a do events on the Excel side just so that if it does freeze, we can it's easier to take control of it. So we should get 2 instances of PowerPoint, and let's see if we do. No, we only got 1 instance. That's weird. Maybe it didn't want me to set. Let's see, we'll do a ppt.close. Now let's open up that first one first. We have to open it up. So we'll say ppt.open presentations.open. I think that's what it is. Yeah. And then we can cert.podx. And we'll set that to a presentation up here. See if that works. It might not be in the same path, so it might not work. And let me save this workbook. Call this also cert. Hopefully it's in the same path, and then we shouldn't have to specify the path. Let's see if it works. We might have to explicitly set the path. Yeah, didn't like that. So, oh yeah, because it's out in OneDrive. That's always problematic with the way it represents the paths. So let me save this locally and let me save the PowerPoint locally. So we'll launch that instance and we'll open up cert and then we'll save it locally. So that might be the one caveat. There's easy ways around it. You can just copy it locally, so you don't have to force it locally with code. I'm sorry, the reverse. You can force it locally with code. So I'm just going to tell it, hey, go save out to the C drive here. And save it here in documents. Save. And then we'll do the same for the Excel workbook. And then we'll have an absolute path. We don't have to worry about those weird paths that OneDrive and SharePoint typically give you. So do the same thing. You just don't want OneDrive. And we'll save it. Oops. Did not mean to do that. Save. I meant to do Alt F11. There we go. We can close this, and now we should, hopefully we get this opened up twice. Let's see what happens. Nope. All right, let's see where I went wrong. All right. We'll force the path in. Maybe it's not native. And we'll see how it behaves. Yeah, that seems, yep. All right, so we got the result we wanted. And then it'll do it again. So it'll go to the next record, open it up, just make sure. Yep. All right, so we're good. And so now it's blank, so we're good. So now once it's open, then we want to search for that like name. So we can do something like, I think there's like a text object in PowerPoint. I forget exactly. We might have to Google this. Do something like that, just so we know it's from PowerPoint. I think it's text frame or text range. It's one of these. I think it's text range. So we'll just say like set p text equal to presentation dot text. Oh, it's within the slides. Yeah. So slides, right? I don't know if it starts at 0 or 1, probably starts at 1. So what is it under here? But something like, yeah, under the slide, it's something like, if it's layout, name notes, parent, it's not shapes. I hate going to Google when it's like right on the tip of my tongue. Like paragraph? No. Maybe it's like section index, but that doesn't ring a bell. All right. Well, we know that we definitely want that first slide. So we'll call it PowerPoint slide as PowerPoint slide. So we'll start with the slide and then we'll figure out what it is below here. So we'll just do a control F8 here and we'll run to this particular instance. It'll open it up. And then we get to the slide that we want. And then we set that object. And so now, right, we can figure out what it is under the slide. I forget. I know it's like another layer deep. I can't remember if it's like, I thought it was paragraph. One of these, let's see if there's any comments. No. Oh, comments is also based on index. I don't think we're dealing with comments though. Yeah, there's no comments anyway. Comments, custom layout. We don't want to export it. We just want the text. I forget where the text frame stuff is. It's under like another object here. Okay, let's see what the name is. Slide one. Okay, so that's good. So dot name is good. Print step section index. Oh, I think right. Within each shape, there's text. So there should be two shapes, I think. Yep, there we go. All right, so we know it's a shape. So we'll do a dim T shape as PowerPoint dot shape. And we'll do something like this. We'll say set T shape equal to pres dot shapes. I'm sorry, T slide dot shapes. We'll set it to the first one, which should be name. And again, I'm just doing this quickly. There's a lot more that should be done. And then from here, we could do pshape dot name or pshape dot text frame, not text frame, text. Maybe it is text frame dot value dot caption. No, has text. There we go. So from here, we should be able to tell what that shape object is. And yeah, we don't. Oops, I froze. So this shape is what we want to interrogate now. So now we should be able to see text frame. All right, so it's got to be like either an index or text range. Yeah, dot, something like this. Caption. There we go, count. All right, so there's one in there. And now we just have to figure out how to interrogate this text range. Characters, there we go. I think this is it. Yeah, so, right, so start at 1. Yep, 1 to the end, so we can do, I think -1. No, and we could, I'm not sure how to get the, it should be characters dot count here, so it should be this dot characters dot count, and that should give us the full scope. Yeah, right. So there we go. So now we could say pshape dot text frame dot text range dot characters 1 comma shape text frame text range dot characters dot count equals, and then we're going to just put in range dot value. That'll put in the name, and we'll run this again, and hopefully we get 2 instances of this. Okay, we'll hit F5, and there we go. There's Anne, and hopefully there's another one with Hmm. That's bizarre. Why did we only get Ann? Joe should have been the first one. So we'll close Ann. Where did Joe go to? All right, I'm just gonna set PPT equals to nothing. It should instantiate a new copy with this, regardless of whether or not I set this to nothing, but we'll just step through it just to see what's going on. So the first one we get should be Joe. So here's where we get, oh, did I set it to the wrong? Oh, my code never stopped. I hit F8 and instead it did an F5. Bummer. All right, let's see what's going on with my code. We'll just run an F5 from here. So we see we got Joe, so that's great. And then, right at this point, I would save the document. I would do like a, PowerPoint ppt.save as, and then we could save it to a certain path. And here, I think, yeah, it won't launch two instances. It's using the same instance. Yeah, that's all that's happening there. Not a big deal. So all we have to do is just do something like this. We just do a, after we put the name in PowerPoint, I guess it's presentation that we want to save. So it's presentation.save as, and then we'll just call it the same thing as the name of the person. And then we'll close PowerPoint. So ppt.close, quit. Yeah. And this should create two instances of what we're looking for. So it'll open them really quick. It'll close them. So we don't even have to set them to visible. Oh, what did I do? I made a mistake. Doesn't like to save as. Let's tell it where to save it. Maybe it wants to know exactly where to save. And it probably wants the pot X extension. So do that. Yep, there we go. Then it'll quit. We don't need that anymore. This should work. Object required. Oh, it never created a new instance. I wonder why. Let's see what happened. All right, so the first instance. Oh, because I set it to nothing. That's a mistake, right? We want to tell it, don't set the object to nothing. We still want to hold it as a placeholder. Just launch a new instance of PowerPoint. Yeah. There's Joe. Maybe not. So it saved it, right? Yep, saved it as Joe. Not sure why it won't quit for me. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't because there was a delay, so it's asynchronous, I guess. So we'll just put a little timer in here. I don't know if there's like a pres dot saved or something like that, like plural. Oh yeah, there is. Okay, so we'll do like a do until pres dot saved loop, and let's just see how long that takes, and we'll stop it here. Close that. And we'll do an F5. Yeah, we keep losing the connection to the PowerPoint object. That's so we, oh, we got to see if it's launched too. Ah, okay. So these are calling asynchronously. So we also have to see if like, right, if it's available. So I guess we could do like, do until P shape. Actually, it's not even, we got to check. I don't even know if the object will show up as nothing because it's loading in the background. So we'll just put a little timer in here just to be safe. So we'll just say like, dim, count as long. And then we'll just cycle for a minute or, a few seconds. Do for L count equals 1 to, I guess, like 1,000. Next. That might even be too long. We'll do events just so if we do freeze, it's easier to break it. And we'll do the same here. Okay. And we'll run it again. There's Joe. Okay. And so now hopefully this is, I guess, -1 indicates that it is saved. So we should have, return of the object here. So we'll do an F8. Yep. We'll go to the next one. Now we should get Ann. Yeah, this is taking a while to launch. That's why we have to put this timer in. Yeah, we're losing. Ooh, that's a weird one. Yeah, we should not be losing connections to the server. We might have to set this higher, this timer. That's bizarre. It's not even launching a new instance of PowerPoint. In my code, I'm trying to step through the code, but it's just advancing of its own accord. It's instead of, like accepting the F8, it's just running an F5. So we'll do this. We'll run it. And we get Joe, we see that. That's perfect. And so we'll run it again. So now it should launch another instance of PowerPoint. Even though it ran PowerPoint.quit, it didn't close it. That's so weird. All right, so we're telling it, well, we could do pres.close. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, this is bizarre. All right, so let's run this again. F5 this time. All right, so we got Joe, and it should have closed the PowerPoint. It did. Well, the presentation. So now we'll see if it quits. See, it didn't close PowerPoint. This should close PowerPoint. I'm not sure why it did not, but we'll see what happens. So we should create a new instance of PowerPoint with this. And I don't know, let's see. And it's already visible, so that's fine. Hopefully that's the instance that we just, all right, it opened it up. Yep. And then we'll put in the timer. I'm just going to run it to here. This is where we broke last time. Yep. Object required. It does not like this P-shape object. And it closed on us. That's interesting. Why is it closing on us? First instance is fine. Yeah, it's so bizarre. All right. Let's try it again and see why it's losing its instance to the object. So makes it visible, opens up the dock. We see it open. We've got access to the slide. So pslide.name is slide 1. Yep. And then we've got the shape, the first shape. That looks cool. So pshape dot text frame dot text range 1 dot characters 1. It's like it lost access to that object. Yeah, it's almost like it's losing access to the PowerPoint object. Hmm. I'm gonna set it back to nothing. Just want to see what happens. I'm gonna run it again. All right, so the first swing is good. Creates our record for Joe. Doesn't want to close our presentation for some reason. Yeah, it knows the name of our object, but it does not want to allow us to close it. That's so bizarre. Oh yeah, because it's asynchronous. So right, it does think that this is saved. All right, I'm just gonna put this timer here. I would normally write just I wouldn't use a timer like this. I'd probably use like an API timer or sleep or something like that. But we did get back access to the object. I think it's just making these asynchronous calls. So you just have to put a little delay in before it does an action. See, this should have quit. It should have closed PowerPoint, but it didn't. So that's weird. All right, so now it'll create a new instance. And that should be it. If it opens up the document, then we're pretty good. Yep, so it's got the document. And we see that it's our, and technically I shouldn't be using the open for this because it's a template. We should be doing dot add because we're using a template. And then I forget what the parameters are, but it's like, yeah. I forget how it is. It's not open though. It's like, since we're using a template, it's like we're telling it to create a new template. We'll leave it as open for now, but yeah, there's a better method to use than open. Anyway, we do have the presentation. We see that it's our cert that we opened. And we've got the slide. It set the object fine. And it's slide one. And then we're going to set a reference to the shape. And that's when it closes it. This is an interesting one. I wonder why it's closing it. That's so bizarre. That's really interesting. Here's another way we could quickly remedy this. Um, we could create a, that should work. I don't see what the problem is. I must be missing something basic here. We can make this recursive with like the application dot on timer or on yeah, on timer, and we could launch it that way so that it's truly launching them, independent of each other. So we could say something like optional string start as string equals A2. So we'll start at A2. And then we no longer want to do this. We don't care about this anymore. And we'll set this back, inside. And we'll say, if range offset 1 is not blank, then application dot on time, it's like now plus date value. Basically tell it like launch it in a second from now. And we'll tell it to launch with, tell it to launch export. I forget how to add parameters, so we'll just create a global variable. So if it's blank, then we'll set it initially. Tell it where to start if it's the first time running. We also have to remember to either hit stop explicitly or reset it down here at some point when it's completely done so that it doesn't keep that state in between our runs. It's like we would do something like this here, else global string start equals nothing. And then before we run it, we just want to tick up string start from whatever it is to range offset 1 dot address, and that'll go to A3, A4, as long as until they're contiguous, for the contiguousness of the data. Just let's see if there's any problems. No. Take this off and we'll just run it and see if we have any issues. Yep. So G. That's why. All right, we'll run it again. All right, there's Joe. And there's Ann. All right. And then I won't do the other 2 columns. That should be pretty self-explanatory. You just want to, instead of setting this to range.value, copy this. And the text frame is going to be, instead of shape 1, it'll be shape 2. And then you could add a shape 3 instead of trying to search for those characters. But yeah, this should be pretty self-explanatory.